No, sir.
None?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. If in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that the minutes have been approved as posted. Mayor's report, I'll start with a thank you for the participants of this year's Memorial Day celebration in honor of those who gave it all in service for our country. Next, I will turn it over to the Vice Mayor for her report.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. As you all know, I'm beginning to wind down my service on this board, and I've grown a little more reflective about our town. The town of Farragut was established in 1980 with a handful of principles the founding members held dear and the early board members expanded upon and put into place. They wanted planning and zoning that protects the residential character of our community. They wanted to honor and preserve this area's history. They established higher road standards and committed to maintaining our roads. They planned to improve our transportation network to address safety, capacity, and connectivity. They planned to reserve land for parks for this community's recreational needs, and by the late 80s, they'd committed to building a connected pedestrian system. They wanted to establish an uncluttered feel with a strict sign ordinance. They wanted to be a limited service municipality. They wanted to thrive without a municipal property tax through fiscally conservative management of our funds. The town of Farragut has stayed true to these founding principles. I wanted to highlight two of those founding principles. First, the town has been investing in a connected pedestrian system for more than 30 years. It is an asset that distinguishes us from so many other suburban communities. And second, the town also has invested in our transportation network to address safety, capacity, and connectivity so that we can distribute traffic safely over a broad network of roads. Everything in blue is roads that have been improved. Everything in green or in a dash green is roads that have been added and connect for further connectivity. We have worked very hard to build a safe, connected transportation network, and that's all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move into any other alderman have anything else to report?
And Mayor.
None? Okay. Then we'll move on to ordinances. We have 5 for public notice and review tonight. We'll start with the first one, public hearing on the second reading of Ordinance 24-07, an ordinance of the town of Farragut, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending July 30th, 2025.
Mayor, thank you. At our first reading, we had several comments and suggestions from the board on changes that you'd like to see made from first reading to second reading. So first, I'll start off with our capital investment program budget. There were 3 changes regarding projects that we had discussed at that time. One was to move the Kingston Pike underpass design from FY 2025 to FY 2027, so that then construction of the project would move from FY 26 to FY 28. The next up would be the McPhee Park. We put the description of that, kept the budget number the same, but put the description of that as courts and restroom facilities and pavilions and restroom facilities at McPhee Park. And then the final change to the CIP budget was the good news. The Union Road Improvement construction budget has been modified from $9.1 million total cost to $7.9 million total cost after we've been able to do a little more design work on that to get a better price going into the construction period. Also, for the general fund budget, we're adding an additional senior project manager position. Both salaries and benefits would increase the budget $176,647. And then in public works, there is a decrease in the public works budget of $36,411. So overall, the general fund, if we look at FY 2025, the proposed general fund revenues are $17,027,108. Expenditures are $11,173,602. Overall, the general fund budget projects $5.85 million in revenues over expenditures in FY 2025, with an available fund balance of $18.29 million. The State Street Aid Fund, the Tourism Fund, the ARPA Fund, the Equipment Replacement Fund, and the ADA Capital Projects Fund, as well as the Insurance Fund, did not change from first to second reading. And then as the Capital Investment Program Fund budget, as I mentioned earlier, the CIP has a total of $17,630,216 in projects planned for FY 2025, and overall project fund balance of $7,216,226. Those are the only changes that we've made from first to second reading, and the recommendation would be to approve Ordinance 24-07 on second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Next will be residents' comments.
Yes, sir. We have 6 tonight. The first one is John Neal at 6657 Ridge Rock.
Mr. Mill, will you step up to the microphone, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I am an attorney, and my address is 6657 Ridge Rock Lane here in Knoxville. And you know that I represent 3 of the homeowners who are affected by the Turkey Creek Greenway extension. I'm sure you've all read my letter that relates to it and lays out the law, and I'm not going to subject you to a recapitulation of those arguments. I have basically 2 observations to make. The first is that I read an email written by the mayor, and I don't know if any of the other members of the board have seen it, but it says, "Thank you for reaching out by email with your additions to Mr. Mitchell's opinion. The proposed Turkey Creek Road project is primarily to improve the safety on the dangerous curve on the west end of Turkey Creek Road. Anytime the town of Farragut does road improvements, we also do sidewalks and trail improvements and additions as well." Ladies and gentlemen, you can't, at this late date, recharacterize this project as a road extension and a sidewalk. It's a greenway. It always has been a greenway. It's in every document that has been generated by you all of the Planning Commission. It's called a greenway. You can't change it. The documents and the videotapes of these meetings are going to support that. We're going to get involved if this $500,000 is included in the budget. We're going to get involved in a lawsuit that really shouldn't be filed. The truth is, I enjoy litigation. Most lawyers do. I don't enjoy filing lawsuits that waste my client's money, and this one will. Because of the letter written by the mayor and the position taken that this is a sidewalk and a road widening project, I'm going to have to take every one of your depositions, and I'm going to have to take the depositions of every single person on the Planning Commission. I frankly don't want it. It's a waste of your money. It's a waste of my client's money. This $500,000 just shouldn't be in the budget. Now, I got one other comment to make. Your lawyer, Mr. Hale, is conflicted on this case. And I want you to know that I'm sorry. I have known Mr. Hale, I guess, since we were freshmen in college. He may correct me and say it was a year or 2 later. There isn't a better lawyer in this state. If I was in trouble, I would want Mr. Hale as my lawyer. You need his advice because he would keep you out of this mess. You all need to get a really good lawyer and discuss the elements of this case before you approve this budget, because I promise you, next week, we're going to be in litigation. I say my time is up and we're done.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Our next speaker is George Ellis.
George Ellis, 12650 Brass Lantern Lane. Well, there's a lot of town business yet to be done tonight, so let me get going on this. There could be criticism of town officials that volunteer their time to do the people's business, but I'm not going to go there. A while ago, I came to this microphone to let the town know that no one would build a structure worth $8 or so million and then not have the means to lock it up at night when it was not to be used. The residents of Brass Lantern and Something for good, strong security gates to be put in place to keep McPhee Park safe at night and to prevent any costly nonsense from happening. It's been done, check. So that as far as this budget goes, kind of bridges this year's budget over into next year's budget, which I assume will be discussed soon. We have asked for noise levels to come down by moving or eliminating noise-provoking sports games, and seeing new pickleball courts being planned for Watt Road is another step in the right direction that the town's taken. Pickleball players get more courts, we in the area get quieter yards, and we can actually use our back porches again. So win-win. It's not quite a check mark yet, but we've got our Sharpies ready. Local residents are very happy with the new gates, and we are very appreciative of the work done on them, the decision to install them, and these new courts are also welcomed. I'll remember the discussion the board had at that time. We appreciate the alderman who took an interest in making McPhee a quieter place, and that need is now there more than ever. I can remember Mr. Meyer saying, making a decision based on whether or not I'd want that behind my house does make the decision. I wish I'd known that when I was in business, because that was really simplified things. So that did make a decision, and it was a very good one. I've always remembered that, and the people that were here when Mr. Meyer said that also brought that up in the last couple of days. I remember Vice Mayor Pavlin on another occasion stating, when we had issues with noise in the park, the town made a mistake by placing the courts there. How often do you ever hear anybody on a board, let alone the entire board, admit they made a mistake? It doesn't happen very often, and I've been on a few boards. Anecdotally, I ran into a new resident who lives in one of the new subdivisions down McPhee opposite the Grove, close to where Mr. Burnett lives. He had heard impact sounds a half a mile away at his house, but didn't know what it was. He was on our street 2 weeks ago doing some repair work and heard the pickleball noise and said, "That's the noise I can hear at my house." And I said, "Welcome." To make a long story short, there are those that say the town does this and that, and the boards don't listen, but I think they do. If the problem at hand is made in a clear way, and if a solution is offered up without expecting immediate results, we appreciate the town listening to residents' concerns as they go ahead with the budget decisions, and helping by bringing McPhee back to the direction of what a park should be, a quiet place to enjoy, and to see others enjoy its peace as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Our next speaker is Alex Kane.
Thank you. Alex Kane, 524 Wyndham Hall. And as for full disclosure, I am a candidate for the Board of Aldermen North Ward seat. I'd like to speak again on the budget proposal tonight. Mr. O'Neill has already spoken about it in regards to the $500,000 for the greenway extension. I see this extension as a legacy builder, something that's not needed in this current budget, and a waste of taxpayer-provided funds. According to Mr. Neal's letter in the Farragut Press yesterday, it's also a violation of a new state statute. As he stated a few minutes ago, we do not need to go through another set of litigation for something like this, and it would be a waste of the town's money, the citizens' money. If you move forward with this, unfortunately, as Mr. Neal said, he will take up litigation, and I truly believe that we are going in the wrong direction at that point. What I would like to see is that line item stricken from the budget until a later date, where this could be dealt with between the citizens involved and the board itself. One other item that's in there that I would like to talk about is traffic. And I'd like to see maybe the funds that were going to be allocated to this greenway extension used to start to to start to alleviate some of the issues, especially at Campbell Station and Kingston Pike. I know in the past there was discussion of adding turn lanes at that intersection. If you all remember, a while back, we had 2 left turn lanes at Kingston Pike when you were traveling south on Campbell Station Road. I sat through 5 light cycles on Monday in that one single left turn lane. I'd like to see us go back to the 2 left turn lane system there at Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road and get traffic moving again. I'm a small business owner. I own a transportation company. I move individuals, private citizens around. I spend a lot of time in cars. I've spent a lot of time in different cities seeing different traffic control systems. And I think the new traffic light system is a great addition to the town, but we do need to work on traffic lanes and traffic flow. Again, I'd like to see that line item for the greenway removed from the budget before a vote tonight. And it would be foolish to move forward because it would cost us a whole lot more than $500,000 in litigation. And based on the state statute, the town's going to lose. And when the town loses, all the residents lose. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Randall Roberts.
Let me read this. My wife said I couldn't freelance. Randall Roberts, 11905 Butternut Lane in Sugarwood. I'd like to address the matter concerning Farragut proposing to spend an estimated $2.5 million to construct a 1,600-foot sidewalk along Turkey Creek. In all reality, by the time it's built, it's probably going to look more like $3 million. First off, is this really needed? For all the times I've been down that road, never once have I seen anyone walking in that area. It's doubtful that it will ever generate the pedestrian traffic that would warrant that type of expenditure. It's another one of those things that looks good on paper, but in reality, is it really needed, especially for the cost involved? Farragut supposedly already has more sidewalks and green space than other towns its size. When is enough going to be enough? As you've been advised, the owners of the 3 properties along that route will contest you taking the fronts of their properties. One even has an old plat map signed off by the town of Farragut that indicates that no sidewalk would be permitted. Farragut took the position regarding the First Baptist Church East entrance that a previous pastor promised that entrance would only be temporary. And even though the town was negligent in following through with the paperwork regarding the entrance only being temporary, Farragut sought to force the issue upon the church that promises should be honored. So if a plat map signed off by the town of Farragut indicates that there would never be a sidewalk along a section of Turkey Creek, does that not constitute a promise on the part of Farragut? Attorney John Neal has provided you with an update regarding recent changes in the state of Tennessee that would by the state of Tennessee that would be applicable in this case. It is very well researched. For Farragut to fight this in court would consume considerable financial resources. As such, best to leave sleeping dogs lie. The money allocated for the sidewalk project should be reallocated to prioritizing what Farragut citizens consider a more pressing need, that of trying to resolve the traffic congestion that seems to get worse by the week. They've not even started renting the 286 units at Biddle. If you travel to the west down near Little Joe's Pizza at Watt Road, you can already see an increase in traffic congestion there. And they have only just now started to rent at Farragut Junction, a complex that will contain another 220 apartments. Apartments do not and never have belonged in Farragut. They go against the historic nature of our town being a small rural enclave of single-family residences. I'm glad to see that some of our officials have already changed their position to understand that residents are strongly opposed to apartments, but unfortunately the damage has already been done. We supposedly have a smart traffic system coming online, but that seems to continually slip further and further behind. A traffic study in the past indicated that improvements could be made for around $1.6 million. That's far less than what you're obviously willing to spend on a sidewalk. We need to get our priorities straight and address the more pressing needs of our residents. And right now, that's finding and implementing solutions to our traffic nightmare, and that should be job number 1. Sidewalks are not priority in anyone's book but yours. Do I need to ask about the pickleball thing too, or just?
Yeah, anything you have for the budget, yeah.
Okay, one other small thing. I noticed on the agenda that you're going to look at a contract for moving building pickleball courts at Watt Road. Essentially, what we would like to do, a lot of the pickleball players would like to have a citizen's input on that or a player's input. So when that comes up for contract, we would like to have the opportunity to work with the developer as far as what we would like to do. The next thing we'd like to do is, I think we're talking 8 courts. There's a lot of interest in us starting to actually have tournaments or actually organize tournaments. That would be a good thing for Farragut. We could have the first Farragut Invitational or something like that, bring in people, bring in fees for the teams that want to play. So it would be a money-making opportunity for us to help offset some expenses. Okay? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lawrence Seacrest.
Lawrence Seacrest, 12103 Valley Trail. And I'm here to talk about the budget, but primarily the walking trail. So, and I take a little different approach to people most times. So leading up to the parable of the Good Samaritan, a lawyer came to Jesus, and he perfectly summarized the law, the divine law, and said, what do you do first? You love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And what do you do second? You love your neighbor the same way you love yourself. Then it gets interesting. He says, seeking to justify himself, he says, who is my neighbor? So here we see the difference between what's lawful and what's legal. Lawful is the area where God works. That's where truth, righteousness, justice is. And that's where our conscience also is there. Whether we use it or not, we have a conscience. We know right from wrong. Legal is where the devil likes to play around, and he uses fancy words and twist phrases and tries to trick you in cunning logic. So it's always good to keep those two things separated. So as leaders of the town, I ask you to, anytime you have a proposal, to first ask, is it lawful? Is it just? Is it right? That's the first question. Then, do I have the legal right to do it? Is there ways that we should do it? Does the town allow me to do those kind of things? So God's given each man a conscience. We know right from wrong, and we don't need a law degree to know what right is and what wrong is. So I submit to you that every citizen of this town knows that it's not right to forcibly take another man's property. We know that's right. I mean, we know that's wrong. So we don't need to go look at the law. So based on Tennessee law, I'm assuming that this is going to die or somehow it's going to go away. But my bigger concern is the thought process that we use to come to these conclusions. So I run a business. I've been involved in big organizations. I understand groupthink. I understand, hey, there's a goal. Let's strive to the goal. I'm a goal-driven person. But at some point, especially when you're impacting people's lives, someone has to step back and say, is this a right thing? Are we doing the right thing? Is this the path of peace that we're on? And so I would just encourage you going forward that someone, maybe multiple people, need to kind of just take on their heart, I'm going to do that. So I guess I'll close with saying that my prayer for this body is that you guys would think about things and say, is this just? Is this truthful? And I pray for you guys that you would also have wisdom in executing those just and right decisions. So may God make it so. Amen.
Our next speaker is Steve Williams.
Steve Williams, 721 Virtue Road. And to the extent that the Virtue Road improvements are included in the budget, and I think they are, but correct me if I'm wrong so I can sit down. Are they?
Yes.
They are.
Okay, thank you. So this is relevant. I just wanted to bring, I've got the April 27, 2023 report to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen talking about hiring for the design and such. It talks about the 10-foot, I didn't realize this, it talks about a 10-foot shared use path connecting to the planned greenway, which would be coming, of course, across our land. Number one, I don't think it's engineeringly possible without massive amounts of money to bridge the elevation. So I don't know that it's a doable project to begin with, but I'm not aware of a 10-foot walking bike trail anywhere in the town, so why all of a sudden are we putting one there that's connecting to a 4-foot sidewalk? So it kind of doesn't make a lot of horse sense. Plus, if I remember correctly, my land is my land starts 25 foot from the center line of the road coming back toward me. So that would, if you do an 11-foot lane with a 2-foot curb and gutter, that's 13 foot. So it's impossible to put this 10-foot in there on the right-of-way to have a safe amount of green space, or I call it grass between the road and whatever sidewalk you put in, green space sidewalk, because there's just no room there. And it's not safe, I think everyone would say, and I've got proof that we've been recording, the speed on Virtue Road is somewhere in the neighborhood of, the slowest would be in the low 40s, the highest would be probably 60 or more. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 30 miles per hour on Virtue Road. So you very rarely ever see anyone going 30 miles per hour. So I don't think anyone on this board or anyone on the planning commission would say, oh yeah, let's put a big nature area, sidewalk, walking trail, bike trail right on the back of the curb. That's not safe. So I don't think anyone would do that. So to the extent of the state law prohibiting towns and municipalities and government condemning people's land for green spaces, sidewalks, walking trails, I think we need to revisit this before we get too far down the road. And I guess, last 26 seconds, I'm upset as a citizen. No one has touched base with me about the Virtue Road improvements. I just think that's bad business. I think that's bad. We consume a large portion of the road improvement area. Nobody spoke to me. And we're spending, I think this $739,000. Don't know where you're at with it, but I think that's bad to throw that kind of money out there and not even speak to someone. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mike Mitchell.
Mike Mitchell, Brooksworth Boulevard. I'm here to advocate for something we used to have. That's turn lanes on Campbell Station Road, 2 turn lanes, left-hand turn lanes. We lost that years ago when the decision was made to have 2 lanes going down South Campbell Station Road. If we look back to 2020 in the Biddle Farm traffic study and the Planning Commission of the town of Farragut, there was great enthusiasm for the idea of having a new left-hand turn lane, Campbell Station Road to Kingston Pike, and Kingston Pike to Campbell Station Road. A lot of things have changed since 2020. In 2020, we had 15,000 cars at Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road. Well, it's a lot more now. Currently, Knox County Commission says that there are 15,000 cars a day at North Shore and Concord Roundabout. We have some new things that have happened that were unanticipated in 2020. Mayor Williams and other people have gotten us a huge breakthrough in getting a 4th lane from Lovell Road to the split, both east and west. That is going to be massive construction. And when that construction happens, people in their cars are going to be told there's a traffic jam, go to the alternate Kingston Pike. We will absorb that. Mayor Jacobs and the County Commission has decided they will widen North Shore Drive 2 feet per lane. That could start this summer. When they do that, 1 lane of North Shore Drive will be closed. The GPS in all those cars is going to say detour to to Kingston Pike. That's the alternate. Somehow we drew the short straw. We're the alternate for 2 state highways, 11 and 70, and for 2 interstates, I-40 and I-75. We're going to be inundated with traffic. I'm pleading with you, as the letter I sent to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and my letter to the editor in the paper today, we need those 2 turn lanes. It's clear that the Turkey Creek Greenway is now by state law illegal. That frees up $2.5 million. I ask you respectfully, please, may we have our turn lanes. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for showing up and letting us know your opinion on things. And Mr. Neal, thank you for your presentation. Okay, we'll start our discussion with the Vice Mayor.
All right. I just want to let the board know, I pulled up public chapter number 1034, and I just want to quote directly from it. Section 1, Tennessee Code annotated Section 29-17-102 is amended by deleting subdivision 2 and substituting. Public use does not include recreational facilities, recreational purposes, or parks, private use or benefit, or the indirect public benefits resulting from private economic development and private commercial enterprise, including increased tax revenue and increased employment opportunity, except as follows. A, the acquisition of any interest in land necessary for a road, highway, bridge, or other structure, facility, or project used for public transportation. The line item in the CIP, when we approved the budget on first reading, and the line item as it reads consistently from last time to this time reads Turkey Creek Greenway road improvements. So I'm going to leave that to the side. Can you pull up my slides that I had asked for? So I know there's been a lot of discussion about left turn lanes for northbound and southbound Campbell Station Road. My concerns about it are not easily discussed on a social media post because there's quite a bit going on that I believe this community really needs to understand and consider the consequences of simply widening that intersection and what that means. So, regarding the intersection of Kingston Pike, Campbell Station Road, and the Biddle Farms traffic studies provide recommendations, not requirements. The recommendations in the Biddle Farms traffic study regarding the Kingston Pike, Campbell Station Road intersection do not take into account pedestrian activity and pedestrian safety, the negative impact on community character, and the principles of induced demand. Pedestrian safety is an aspect of transportation planning that now must be considered based on guidance from the United States Department of Transportation's Safe System approach. The town of Farragut has been investing in a connected pedestrian system for more than 30 years. The U.S. DOT has adopted the Safe System approach and is pushing this initiative down to the states and to the local governments through the local transportation planning organizations. We cannot simply prioritize vehicular travel over pedestrian safety any longer. Further, the recommendations in the traffic study do not take into consideration the long-established goal of the town to preserve and enhance to the greatest extent possible the predominantly residential character of our community. And you can go to the next. The town has long worked to balance vehicular traffic, pedestrian activity, and preservation of some sense of place in all our road projects. Expanding this intersection to include an additional left turn lane, both northbound and southbound, adds more asphalt to accommodate more cars. The residents I speak to aren't enthralled with the idea of turning the heart of our town into something similar to the Cedar Bluff-Kingston Pike intersection. Also, the recommendations in the traffic study fail to consider the principles of induced demand, which indicate that the existing congested conditions during rush hour will return in a matter of time. To reiterate, expanding the Kingston Pike Campbell Station Road intersection would negatively impact pedestrian safety, degrade the sense of place and community character of that area, and it would increase the amount of traffic flowing through the intersection. In a matter of time, the same congested traffic conditions would return. There are 3 ways to deal with traffic congestion at an intersection: increase the efficiency of the timing of the traffic lights at the intersection, expand the traffic capacity of the intersection by adding additional lanes, and/or reduce traffic flowing through the intersection by providing alternative routes to distribute traffic over a broader network of roads. As many residents are aware, the town of Farragut is in the middle of the installation of an automated traffic management system to improve efficiencies in traffic control throughout the town, and specifically in the heart of our town. Additionally, the town has actively worked to build a connected transportation network to distribute traffic over a broader network. In fact, the town has planned for and/or invested in the infrastructure to support growth and development in the heart of our town. Go ahead and go to the next one. Specifically, the extension of Campbell Station Road from Kingston Pike to Concord Road, the design of Brooklawn Street, the planned extension of Municipal Center Drive through the Eddie Ford property when it develops, the planned installation of traffic lights on both ends of Jamestown Boulevard, and the installation of traffic light at Loop Road, Concord Road intersection. The problem with our infrastructure being overwhelmed from time to time is that Knox County has done a poor job of planning for traffic capacity in the Choteau area and has failed to improve the road infrastructure even to address the safety of roads in the unincorporated areas of Farragut Transportation Network. People like safe roads, so they choose to travel on ours. With all that we have planned to address traffic increases in the area, I cannot in good conscience support a project that would negatively impact pedestrian safety and our community character and would lead to the same congested conditions in a matter of time with even more traffic flowing through the heart of our town. Also, just for clarity, according to the Biddle Farms project's traffic impact study, the apartments are not the significant generator of traffic. The commercial is. The commercial area takes up 1/3 of the overall development and generates 2/3 of the traffic. Conversely, the apartments take up 2/3 of the area and only generate 1/3 of the overall traffic. The Biddle Farms area was originally zoned for commercial use. By converting some of the commercial property to multifamily residential, the overall traffic impact was reduced. Further, since the town adopted its first major comprehensive land use plan in 1991, a mixed-use development has been envisioned for this area. We have had apartments existing in the town of Farragut for some time. Additionally, according to the Biddle Farm traffic impact study, the Biddle project makes up approximately 3.5% of the traffic flowing through the Campbell Station Kingston Pike intersection at PM peak hour and 2.6% of the traffic flowing through that intersection during the AM peak hour. The Biddle project does not have the cataclysmic impact some would lead us to believe. That's all I have.
Okay. Next will be Alderman Burnett.
I don't have a lot to add, Mayor. I wish we had, I know Tom can't speak. I think it's really, really unfortunate that we don't have council here to talk to what the vice mayor said, what the lawyer said ahead of us.
Is it on?
Is your mic on?
See if it's on.
Is your mic on?
Battery,
Oh,
You got it.
battery's blinking. Now can you hear me? Now can you hear me? Now can you hear me? Any better? Any better?
Just got to get up
yeah,
into
just
it.
get closer.
Sorry.
I realize Tom can't add any color to this. I think it's very unfortunate. I would like a legal opinion on the greenway side of things. I hear what the vice mayor read. That seems pretty clear. Obviously, he's got the other side, so I think I think the town has to provide more info. Anybody looking at the greenway situation in our town knows this is a key and critical connection. If it can't be made, it can't be made. That's it. But anybody who looks at this knows how important it is. It's completely obvious how important of a connection it is to the 26,000 residents in the town. It's very obvious. However, if it can't be legally done, can't be physically done by the terrain, it can't be done. And so there's a lot of stuff going on at Planning Commission that it may not ever make it here. And then there's the side which I don't feel armed with the information to say this is okay legally to move forward on. And so I feel like we should have been provided that information before right now. And I'm honestly frustrated that I don't have that info. It's important to the 3 or 4 families that are frustrated. It's also important to the entire community because the overwhelming majority of this community wants to be connected throughout the community. But I don't think it's fair for either side to not have that information, and that's a frustration for me about this budget right now. Now, with that being said, this being added to the budget, it shouldn't, in my opinion, trigger a lawsuit because we're not doing anything. So I don't know how we would be sued just by adding this in the budget. So I'm on the fence about keeping it in the budget and getting a legal opinion on the matter, which we have to have. I mean, we absolutely have to have that. But I'm just feel like that's information we need. But it staying in the budget should not trigger any type of lawsuit. I don't know how you could sue somebody who's not done anything, but it keeps it in there, and then we can have a legal opinion, and then it may not even make it through, planning commission, but if it does, then we would have something to consider later. But I just don't feel like I have the info I need to make a good decision on that aspect of it.
Mayor, can I address Alderman Burnett's concerns?
Please.
So we did reach out to other council to try to give us an opinion and give us some guidance on this issue. That council has not had a chance to review it yet, so obviously it's bad timing because we have the budget going on tonight. Certainly, if this is something that the board wants to react to later on after we've had that opportunity to get some advice back, then we can either add it back to the budget if that's something you want to do and not include it tonight, or you can include it tonight and then take it out later if you find that it's something that we don't need to move forward on. But I think either way, we're just allocating dollars. There is not anything that's saying we're moving forward with the project until we have those concerns addressed that Alderman Burnett just mentioned.
May I make an additional suggestion?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, let's go through it, and we'll come back, okay? Next will be Alderman Meyer.
I'm fine with keeping the Turkey Creek Greenway improvements, the road improvements in the budget. And if we have to take it out later because of legal matters, then we'll take it out at that time.
Okay, thank you. Alderman White?
Yes, sir, I have a few. First of all, I think it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of asinine, really, to claim a greenway is going to be public transportation. I'm not an engineer. I can't figure that, but I can't see cars up on that greenway, and parents taking their kids to school on that greenway. What I see is some property owners who have owned their property. They live there, they own it, they have a right to enjoy it, and we want to cross it 25 feet up in somebody's yard and put a greenway for other people to walk and ride bicycles. That's not only unfair, that's silly. And the simple thing is, I talked to one of those homeowners, and the $500,000 that's in the budget for property acquisition, I specifically asked, is there any amount of money that we could offer you that would get you to change your mind? And they said, no, we do not want our yard messed up, our driveway messed up, and have this thing running across our property. And we will fight it to the end. So it's simple for me. What they're asking for is that we remove the $500,000 from the budget for property acquisition. Well, what's wrong with that? Well, why can't you just pull that out and leave everything alone and avoid a lawsuit? They're going to sue us. And to be quite honest with you, as long as I've been here, we should have been sued 4 or 5 times. We break the law like we're cooking eggs in the morning. The law means nothing to us and this board. And I'm a part of it. But am I proud of it? No. I believe in the law. Follow the law. Like it or not, follow it. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, admit it, move on. But we won't do that. We will not do that. We'll sit right here. Everybody will vote. We'll have this lawsuit. It'll be in the newspapers with a simple thing. You take one vote and remove the $500,000 for property acquisition from the budget and move on. But will we do that? No. We're going to punish 2 or 3 homeowners for the benefit of other homeowners that can take their children and ride up there on a tricycle through somebody's yard. Public transportation, give me a break. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, sir. And my thought is this has always been a road project with it come along, what we've always done, and that's a sidewalk or walking trail. The curve's a dangerous curve. It's in the afternoons, it's a blinding sun in your eyes. It's something that the homeowners down there are aware of that. It's not new news, but it is a fact of life. Now, Alderman Burnett suggested that we get a legal opinion. I think that's a good idea. We can do it either way, and that's either pull it out or we can leave it in and pull it out later based on a legal opinion. I read the new law. The new law is relevant to Parks and Rec. And this is, if it wasn't a road, if it weren't fixing a road, I think it would be a different story, but we are fixing a road. So I think a legal opinion would go a long ways on that now. And whatever it is, it is. So it's really up to this board on what they want to do as far as leave it in or take it out. So I guess somebody will need to make a motion, a DM.
I move, Mr. Mayor, that we remove the $500,000 for property acquisition from the budget until we can find out if we're going to have a serious legal problem or not.
Okay, now, what did we have for a initial motion?
This would be an amended motion,
you're-
Mayor.
you're
That would need
amending-
a second.
Alderman White,
He wants me to amend my motion.
you're going to amend Alderman Myers' motion?
Yes.
Okay.
To just remove the $500,000 property acquisition fee.
Okay. We will need a vote on that?
Need a second.
Need a second.
Well, yes, we do need a second. Okay, without a second, then that dies. Vice Mayor, you had something else that you wanted to, you had nothing else you want to say, okay? Then we're back to the original motion, and I need a vote, a roll call vote on that.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Vice Mayor Povlin. Yes. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Okay, let the record show that ordinance 2407 has been approved on the second reading by a roll call vote of a 4-1. Okay, next will be a public